Yo, 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 yo. What is going on, family, friends, and fellow enthusiasts? It's your boy Leo. A little bit something different for you guys today. We are here for some live coverage for the SpaceX Starship flight number 13. Now, for those of you that don't know, I am a huge rocket enthusiast. My background would confirm that. And yeah, I've been following this program. This is actually absolutely the largest man-made rocket to ever fly, and the fact that it's even on its 13th flight test thus far, I mean, it's amazing. And so with all of the rocket gods giving us the blessing, hopefully we see this thing fly in just about an hour time, where the window will open. Good to have you guys aboard with us this evening. We'll bring you up a little thing here, and what I want to do is we'll come over to the section here, and we'll go over a little bit of briefing. We'll talk about what this flight's objectives are, and then we'll get some live coverage piped into the background. Now, again, I don't own any of the coverage that you see. We'll be using some of NASA space flights coverage, as well as the official Starship or the official SpaceX stream once they get started. So yeah, this is the 13th flight of Starship, preparing to launch net July 16th. That means no earlier than July 16th. And it has a 90-minute launch window. That means at 6:45 Eastern, 5:45 Central, the window opens. Usually SpaceX typically tries to go at the top of that window. So hopefully we see this thing light up here in just about an hour's time. So real quick, flight 12, if we go back in time, flight 12 just a few months ago was the first flight of version 3. This is the third iteration of the actual ship here, and version 3 wasn't all as it was quite, cracked up to be. It had some issues. They lost the engine. It was able to demonstrate engine out capability. Just like your airliners have ETOPS and stuff like that. Your rockets do too. What is the engine out capability of that rocket? If it loses the engine going uphill, can you still get into orbit? Can you still successfully make it? And that's important because if you launch in rockets, you gotta know where it's gonna come down at if you lose an engine or if something happens. This is why they have exclusion zones. This is why they have NOTAMs and everything for us, aviation folks, and they have keep out zones. This is precisely why. So the primary objectives of the upper stage is to deploy 20 version 3 Starlink satellites. They will be on a suborbital trajectory, which means they're not orbital. This rocket is not going orbital, but it's stopping just shy of, going orbital. Now, the rocket can make it orbital. I believe they can make it orbital. They stop literally just shy of it. And that's because the FAA is like, yeah, you got to demonstrate what's required in order for us to let you go orbital. And one of those demonstrations that they must do, which they did not do on Flight 12, was an in-space or in-flight relight of one of the Raptor engines, which is designed to demonstrate its ability to deorbit. So if you get in orbit, you need an engine to work to get you out of orbit because you got to do a deorbit burn. Because they lost an engine going uphill, or at some point during the ascent, they opted not to do that in-flight relight. Now, version 2 has done a successful in-flight relight on one of their test flights, but that don't count, and it don't count because this is a new version. There's tons of iterations, tons of changes, and things like that. So when you make a ton of changes, you kind of got to reprove that design. This is the second flight of V3, and also the second flight of the V2 booster. This is a V version 2 booster. Starship upper stage primary objectives includes deploying 20 Starlink satellites, a single relight of Raptor engine while in space, and another controlled entry, descent, and splashdown into the Indian Ocean. That's very important. A controlled entry, going through entry interface, it needs to be able to show that the ship is controllable and can come down right on the numbers where they want. That's kind of what the FAA is looking for if you want to, make it fully orbital. Now, this Starship has demonstrated that it can splash down on the numbers. The booster has demonstrated that it can be caught precisely out of the air with the launch tower. So, we're well on our way to that. D-Champ's in the house. What's up, D-Champ? So for the first time, Starship V3 will carry V3 Starlink satellites to space, which aim to greatly expand the network's capacity and super and user speeds as part of the initial test. Starlink or SpaceX plans to deploy 20 of them, which will extend solar arrays, antennas, and attempt to connect to the larger Starlink constellation. Now, this is just a test to make sure that the V3 Starlinks are functioning properly. What better way to do it than to, launch them in space? So yeah, I mean, that's basically, we can talk about more of that as we go. So if we look at I know my face is in the way to the left here, but here's a timeline of the countdown itself. At 50 minutes, the SpaceX flight director conducts all polls and verifies that their goal for propellant load, which they should be past that now. We're at T-minus 41 minutes. And then at T-minus 37 minutes, which is just a few minutes from now, we should get the call out for ship LOX load, or liquid oxygen load, is underway. And then 37 minutes on the dot, we should hear or get a call out from Mission Control that booster LOX load is underway. 35 minutes, booster fuel, liquid methane, is underway. 34 minutes, ship fuel load is underway. So now we're talking about loading the ship. Raptor begins engine chill at 21 minutes. Like, you gotta cool these engines down. They're sitting at ambient temperature in the Texas desert, and you don't want to just shoot really hot fire, with really cold propellant. So what they do is what they call a pre-chill, or a engine chill, where they start flowing that super chilled cold propellant through the lines of the engine to get it down to the sub temperatures that the fuel is. I mean, this fuel is like minus, I don't know what liquid methane is, minus 200 and something degrees. So yeah, that's what the engine chill is about. Then at where are we at? 2 minutes, ship propellant load should be complete by 2 minutes. And then at 30 seconds, SpaceX flight director verifies go for launch. Now, they do have a built-in hold at 40 seconds. We could hear hold. That's not saying that anything is wrong with the booster, but that's just the final chance to give checkouts to the booster and the ship and things like that, or troubleshoot anything that they may be seeing on the boards before the ship and stage 0, which is the launch tower, takes over the terminal count. So then past that, at 30 seconds, the flight director verifies go for launch. At 17 seconds, the flame diverter activation is activated. That's going to be the water deluge system in the flame diverter. And at 3 seconds, the booster engine starts up. They send the booster engine startup command. And at 0 seconds, excitement is guaranteed. At that point, the booster is going flying. Now, here is a little bit of the schematic of what we can expect to see today. They're going to go up for ascent. The booster will disconnect, conduct a boost back burn. Now, in previous flights, they had sent the booster back to the launch tower. It's been caught successfully out of the air like 2 or 3 times. They're not doing that here. This is a new version booster. They want to verify that this booster can land on target, controlled on target on a GPS coordinate that they set in the middle of the Gulf of America. That's number 1. So we will not see a catch. They will demonstrate a boost back, just like it was going to land like a Falcon 9, but it will not be caught. Booster will be expended. We should see a nice controlled this time. Flight 12 didn't have necessarily a controlled flip maneuver from the booster. So when they disconnect, that booster is supposed to flip back and start its boost back burn. On Flight 12, what we saw was a flip down, and then it tried to light the engines, but then you had several engines fail. And so hopefully they got that under wraps and fixed with Flight 13. After hot staging, the ship will continue its ascent. The booster will enter its descent down towards a water land, and hopefully a soft water land. It won't be quite as soft because they want the thing to be destroyed. They don't want it to be sitting there floating in the Gulf of America. So they will hover, and then they will kind of cut the engines at a few meters across, above the water, and so it gains some speed as it comes down and disintegrates on impact. That's the goal. That's considered controlled demolition, to which they don't have to go out and scuttle it. The ship will continue ascent until ship engine cutoff. Then they'll have a coast phase. During this coast phase is when we will see both the deployment of the Starlink satellites, and let me tell you, they put some cameras on those Starlink satellites the last time on Flight 12, and to see that satellite coming out of the payload bay and getting a beautiful view of ship in space, like, it was awesome. So hopefully we get those kind of views this time. But yeah, during the coast phase, they will deploy the 20 Starlink satellites. They'll power the satellites on, make sure they're all good to go. Do whatever checkouts they need on ship. If the ship is reporting everything is good, at some point during that, they will do the in-flight relight of one of the Raptor engines. And it's just brief. It's just like, boom, it's lit. Okay, we can demonstrate, we can deorbit. And then the ship will orientate itself for re-entry. Earlier versions of Starship re-entry was looking spicy, but this thing survived. It's made out of stainless steel with, their proprietary heat shield that they've created. And this thing, even though it got chewed up, in earlier flights, this thing, they've really come a long way with the heat shield and just, how this thing is able to survive, even with pieces of the ship missing. So, I expect to see this thing, as long as ship doesn't lose an engine or more than one engine, I expect to see this thing come down intact in the Indian Ocean. So yeah, we'll talk about some of the other timelines here. This is for the after launch. Liftoff is at T0. T plus 58 seconds. 58 seconds into flight, we should experience max Q. That is the maximum peak aerodynamic stress on the rocket. At 2 minutes 18 seconds, we should expect super heavy MECO, or most engine cutoff. And other rockets, that would be main engine cutoff. But this thing has 33 Raptor engines, so most engine cutoff. Hot staging, Starship Raptor ignites and stage separation. Super Heavy starts to burn back, the boost back burn at 2 minutes and 25 seconds. At 3 minutes and 3 seconds, Super Heavy boost back burn shut down. And then looks like they do have a landing burn. Okay, yeah, they do have a landing burn. 6 minutes 27 seconds, Super Heavy starts to land and burn. And at 6 minutes and 53 seconds, Super Heavy land and burn should be shut down. And then we go up into the ship. So at 6 minutes and 53 seconds, that booster should either, you know, make it splash, destroying splashdown in the Gulf of America. And hopefully we'll get to see that on the horizon if it's clear enough in Brownsville, Texas. So yeah, with that said, a little brief, guys. We're missing out on some conversation. So let me pipe in. Let's pipe in a little bit of audio here.
Farm, they've been able to shrunk basically that timeline and getting it now to just a little bit over 35 minutes from start of propellant load to launch.
Get you out of the way. So there's Starship sitting there.
So quick. And then in terms of other things that we will expect to see, of course, we're going to keep an eye out for that frost line chat. As always, we do this with Falcon 9 as well, with Starship 2. If you start seeing frost lines forming, shout it out in chat that you see frost, because that, of course, we are looking for. We know propellant load is underway, but it gives us a good idea of how far along they are. Essentially, SpaceX created their own loading bar with the frost line that is Starship here, so we'll be able to see how far that.
So yeah, what they're talking about is as this super chilled liquid enters the booster and the ship, it's so cold that the ambient air outside, just like you see in Florida, the ambient air is condensing the coldness, and any moisture that is in the air is condensing on the booster because it's so cold. It's no different than you pull a ice pop out of your freezer, and after a few moments, the ice pop gets frosty on the outside. Same concept. And usually that frost line, like they're saying, follows the load of the propellant that's in the tanks.
And so on both booster and the ship, it's very simple. Top is methane, bottom is liquid oxygen, and that's it. So when you see frost here, for example, near the quick disconnect arm there on the ship, which should be appearing in just a few seconds because I'm starting to see discoloration.
And for those of you that don't know,
on the wall of the tank, that frost that appears there, that is from the liquid oxygen.
This is the Starship. I've got a full 3D printed model
Further
here.
up the ship,
that's what's going up.
As well.
And I have all of these things built and printed in 1-to-1 scale. So that's SpaceX's Falcon 9. That's SpaceX's Starship. Look at the difference. That's 1-to-1 scale. That's 1-to-1 scale.
Oh wow, yeah.
The NASA SLS is 1-to-1 scale.
Keeping in mind that,
here's the Atlas V. That's 1-to-1 scale. Vulcan. That's 1-to-1 scale. Space Shuttle over here. That's 1-to-1 scale.
We weren't kidding.
Blue Origin's New Glenn. That's 1-to-1 scale. Like, and you can just see how big that thing is, even sitting there on my
we'll be keeping an eye on here.
Thing there.
We'll be able to see is the weather, which so far looks clear, and as SpaceX said in their most recent update, all systems and weather are looking good for today's flight. Ryan, I know you've also been keeping an eye on all of the other marine and air assets going around. Of course, they want to have a clear range.
So we're going to come down on
from just outside the
them and come up on the
our 1 million square
official
foot
SpaceX broadcast and listening to them for a moment.
Yeah, I don't know what's cooler, the rocket or the place where we build it. Now, back in May, the first flight test of Starship version 3 delivered tons of data, and we'll be putting those learnings into practice
what's going on,
today
bro?
on Flight 2. All of this brings us one step closer to a fully and rapidly reusable vehicle, the key to enabling frequent flights to the Moon and Mars. Starship will also enhance Starlink's constellation and connectivity on Earth, the Moon, and beyond, while helping establish a network of AI data centers in space. Success on today's suborbital mission also opens the door for near-future orbital flights and our first attempt to catch ship on Tower 2 here at Starbase.
Pretty exciting, and this is also an exciting day for the Starlink team because we are planning to deploy 20 of the newest Starlink satellites. These sats aren't intended for operational use and will only be in space for about 20 minutes before demising. But
Look
during that
at this
20
is
minutes, we're
the
going to
fuel
see
farm
what
over here.
launch
This
the
is
best.
the
Things
propellant
like
farm that they use to
artillery,
fuel it.
firing thrusters,
These pre-coolers
getting
are
those diesel
going,
fuels
man.
to
They're
the
super
Yeah.
chilling that
But what
propellant.
Starlink engineers learned today will be essential to deploying operational V3 satellites into the Starlink constellation on future Starship flights. These larger, more
Twin
powerful
says they thought this is a
next-generation
simulator.
satellites
No,
are
I
designed
wish.
to boost orbital capacity, strengthen
Now,
the
there
overall
are-
network, and deliver a noticeably
There
better
are,
experience for our
space flight
customers.
simulators if interested.
you
I mean,
said
I played
before,
one called
Starship
Kerbal
is a
Space Program, but they have
developmental
another
program.
one
What
coming
we're
out,
doing today is a test.
which is
Test
from
in
some of
flight
the
because it's the best
developers
way
from
to
Kerbal
rapidly
Space
iterate the
Program
design
called Kitten
by
Space
putting the
Agency.
vehicle
And
through
I
its
know,
paces
I
in
thought the
actual
same thing.
conditions it will
But
experience
you want to learn about
during
orbital
mission.
mechanics, you
Exactly.
interested in
So,
rocketry,
while we have
check out
real
Kerbal
Starlink
Space
satellites
Program.
on
Not the
board,
second one. The second
most
one's garbage.
important payload today is data.
But Kerbal
But
Space
no
Program
matter the
or
outcome
Kitten
of
Space
today's test
Agency,
flight, as usual, excitement
which
is
isn't out yet.
guaranteed.
Now let's head a couple of floors upstairs where Dan Hewitt is just outside the Launch Control Center. How's it going, Dan?
Hey Nathan, it is going great. Hi to Kate as well. And hey everybody else. I'm Dan Hewitt with SpaceX Communications. It's great to be back here with you, flying from Starbase just a couple of weeks after the last one. That was Flight 12. That was in May. We debuted a lot of new hardware, all of it flying for the first time. We're going to dig into some of the details in a minute on how that flight went, but it came with a bunch of exciting wins, some important lessons. But
I
let's
meant
look at
one.
right now. Things are looking very good.
How do
We
you
are not
pronounce your name?
tracking
1912.
any issues
I
on the
meant
vehicle or on the pad, just behind me in the
1100th.
Launch Control Center. We've got engineers on console looking at the rocket, all the systems as we count down. We have started propellant load, putting liquid oxygen, liquid methane on both stages of Starship, and we're looking good right now to launch at the open of our window at 5:45 p.m. Central Time. Weather is barely worth mentioning. We came in today with about a 90% probability of go, and
So
we've
they
got
are
blue
actively
skies,
filling
scattered
booster
clouds,
and
no
ship
scary winds. We're
with
looking really
liquid
good.
oxygen and
Range
liquid
is
methane.
also currently green for launch. Reminder, we're watching the range both off the coast in the Gulf here at Starbase, and also on the other side of the planet in the Indian Ocean, where we are hopefully sending the Starship in just a couple of minutes from now. All right, so before we dig into everything else for today, let's take a look back real quick at Flight 12. Now, as I said, that was the first launch of a new ship, new booster, new Raptor engine, first flight from Pad 2 here at Starbase. A lot went right, and the stuff that didn't still gave us really valuable flight data to continue building a better Starship. Like all flights, we lifted off right at the top of the window, 33 Raptor engines propelling that full stack skyward from Starbase. After we got through liftoff, booster ascent, it was Starship's turn, lit its engines for hot staging. We tried to flip the booster in a specific direction. That gives us more performance. We had some differences in engine startup. We were off by about 90 degrees. We've modified that startup sequence, made it more robust to flip in the right direction. Super Heavy attempted its boost back burn. 5 engines experienced issues when attempted to relight, so we had an early end to that. We made some hardware modifications to improve relight reliability
Get the shockwave.
and updated our alarms and aborts. That booster attempted a landing burn as it approached the Gulf. That was unsuccessful, and it ended its flight with a hard splashdown in the hazard area. Now, while that was happening, Starship made its ascent into space. About 40 seconds after stage step, though, we lost one of those 3 Raptor vacuum engines. Still able to demonstrate our engine out capability, reach the planned suborbital trajectory. We've made some hardware operational changes on this flight and have some additional reliability improvements coming in the future. Once in space, Starship was able to deploy
that
all
view
20
there.
of the Starlink simulators, 2 modified Starlink satellites that got these brief shots of Starship in space, which was dope. We skipped the in-space burn due to engine issues, but then Starship got ready to re-enter the atmosphere. It was able to do a flat stressing test and did the maneuver to mimic the trajectory that future missions returning to Starbase are going to fly. Then it got to the pre-planned splashdown zone in the Indian Ocean, where we had drones and buoys ready and waiting. After the Raptors turned on for a flip, landing burn, Starship was in the water, and Flight 12 was in the books. So
now here's my gripe with that. That ship had a lot of rotation. It had a lot of roll as it was touching down. I don't know if that was intended or if that was because they initially had an engine out. But hopefully that is, you know, with this flight, that thing comes down and is able to maintain orientation, because you can't have that roll if this thing is eventually to be caught by the tower. You cannot have that. You can't have that roll in there.
designed this pad to be able to support a launch every 60 minutes indefinitely.
And if you guys get a chance, go and watch this episode. It is a really good episode about what it takes.
It was designed to give good access to the aft end of the booster.
It's called Critical something. It's their newest episode on YouTube.
The reason all of those things were a design goal is because we sucked at building Starship pads and we sucked at building Starships. It's like we didn't know what we were doing because it was impossible to know what you were doing because no one had ever done something like this before. The brief on that one
It's
was,
called
hey,
Critical
get something
Path.
up very quick,
It's the newest
very scrappy,
episode
and very
that they're showing here.
inexpensively, but that's okay. It actually needs to just be good enough for us to learn, and then if we can learn from it, we'll go build the actual good thing. I mean, the integration mechanism is the pad. The catch mechanism is the pad. All of this stuff is like integral to how the pad operates. And so the reason we call it stage 0 is literally it is the first stage of the launch process. And if it is not working, we cannot go launch. And so that certainly like raises the stakes and raises the priority and like drama whenever things go wrong on the pad. Post static fire, as we were
1912 says 1-to-1 scale means real life. Oh, he says that's more like it. I was like, darn.
Noise out at the pad.
They must be really far away to be 1-to-1. Yeah. Got them both. You're right. Second version was not cool. Yeah.
It's vibrating the entire tower. Something got jammed up in the chain and maybe caused it to snap. We don't really know if it's broken completely or if it's just cockeyed or buckled in some way. God, it sounds terrible.
And we do have a frost line on
we are
both
in
the
a bad
booster and the
dash to
ship,
get that
guys.
roller diagnosed and replaced as soon as possible.
So they are actively fueling this thing. Now, unlike the Falcon 9, Starship has about 15 minutes of hold capability. So if they're not ready to go, they have about 15 minutes before the liquids or the propellant heats up too much that it's a no good. Whereas, you know, the Falcon 9, they have an instantaneous launch. Like, they don't have any holding capability.
Got the old chain torn apart, got the new one put together, flew it up, and the morning after that, we're ready to rock.
With these ones, make sure we're going up. Arriba.
It was on the order of like 30 hours, 36 hours from we found the problem to had it fully back in service on like an item that was not really designed to be very serviceable. To be able to come up with a scrappy plan, you know, temp support it with cranes, get in there and boogie is like, that's like just classic SpaceX nonsense.
Man, I love this docuseries. It's not just behind the scenes, it's in the scenes.
It's the day in the life of working here at Starbase. It's awesome.
Yeah. Now, if that scrappy problem solving that Steyer described inspires you, if you want to be a scrappy problem solver with us and the team here, come on over and help us build the future. All right, let's meet the rocket there on the pad, Starship version 3, the most powerful rocket ever developed, ever flown.
That's right.
Absolutely.
At just over 407 feet tall, fully stacked, it is massive. Standing at the base and looking up is like looking up at a 40-story building. Insane.
It's crazy. It's a 2-stage rocket. Both stages are designed to fly to Earth to return to Earth and fly again, making this the first fully reusable rocket ever. The bottom half, or the first stage, is the Super Heavy booster. That's the silver part at the bottom. It's powered by 33 of our newest iteration Raptor 3 engines. You see them there, and those run on liquid methane and oxygen. This version of Raptor provides a significant increase in thrust. With that additional thrust, fun fact, this version of Starship gets off the pad faster than our previous versions. Here you can see version 1 Starship on the left, V2 in the middle, and V3 on the right. That was our first flight of V3 on flight 12, and that thing just leaps off the pad.
That's right. Now, Super Heavy also has 3 grid fins now, which you can think of as aerodynamic rudders to help steer during landing. They're 50% larger than on the previous booster version and are designed to support rapid reuse and a more stable atmospheric reentry.
At the top of the booster is the hot stage adapter. It's designed to protect the booster during separation and is now fully integrated for reusability.
And stacked right above that is our upper stage of the rocket, or stage 2, which is what we call ship. It's powered by 6 Raptor engines, 3 optimized for sea level performance, and 3 for the vacuum of space.
Ship's design could one day enable point-to-point transfer on Earth, meaning you could travel anywhere on the planet, just like an airplane, but this time in an hour or less. It's designed to carry massive orbital payloads, cargo and crew to Earth orbit.
They need to get through these
Mars,
iterations though first.
And for the first time, we're carrying real Starlink V3 satellites to space. For more on that, let's head out to California, where Tyler is standing by.
I would
with
totally book me
How's
a
it going,
flight
Tyler?
from Cape Canaveral to Japan some daggone way on this thing.
Thank you so much, Kate and Nate. I'm Tyler Lionquist, a Starlink business analyst here at SpaceX. And for those of you who have been following along, the Starlink version 3 satellites have been designed to take full advantage of Starship's payload capacity. We're going to get our first look at those satellites today. The Starlink V3 is our next-gen satellite and includes meaningful increases in capacity, data density, and power generation. We'll be adding around 20 times the capacity into the constellation on each Starship mission as compared to the version 2 satellites that we currently launch on Falcon. That means that we'll be able to serve more people all around the world with increasingly better high-speed internet. Like all of the Starlink satellites, the V3s are built at Starlink's site in Redmond, Washington, where we already build more satellites than anyone else in the world today. The Starlink V3 sats are designed to support 1 terabit per second of downlink and 160 gigabits per second of uplink capacity. That's approximately a 10 times improvement in downlink capacity and a 22 times increase in uplink capacity from the version 2 Starlink satellite. Serving this capacity to and from customers are the satellite's upgraded phased array antennas. The upgraded phased arrays are fed by SpaceX's in-house developed chips that were designed to serve customers more efficiently in both densely and sparsely populated regions simultaneously. Each Starlink V3 satellite is also equipped with 6 high-capacity 400 gigabit space lasers. These 6 lasers will allow high-bandwidth traffic to flow uninterrupted between any 2 points in the world with redundant paths across a petabit laser mesh network. And if that wasn't enough, the V3s will carry 4 quad-band radio frequency backhaul antennas. These will take advantage of the Ka, E, V, and W communication bands, allowing for an 8 times improvement in the supported capacity compared to our V2 sats. Now that's a lot of growth in capacity and capability, and as such, the new satellite design requires more power. So the solar arrays on V3 will generate approximately twice as much power as the current arrays that we fly on the V2 satellites. And they're also optimized to reduce drag in the lower orbital altitudes in which these satellites will operate. But before we operationalize these satellites, we want to put them in a flight-like environment. So these satellites were just loaded into Starship yesterday ahead of today's launch. And once deployed,
I watched
the
it
Starlink
last
team
night.
will only have about 20 minutes of flight to speed-run some tests before the sats demise in the atmosphere. Now, the team will attempt to run tests such as extending the new solar arrays and antennas, connecting with ground stations, and turning on the satellite's communication systems. And this is all part of SpaceX's iterative process to technology advancement. And from the beginning, Starlink was designed to scale rapidly and improve continuously. From production to launch and ground infrastructure, Starlink is uniquely positioned to keep pace with rising demand around the world. In fact, just this week, we rolled out the next generation Starlink kit V5, which is built for reliable, high-speed home internet.
So yeah, guys, if we're talking about why she's saying there's only going to be like 20 minutes because this thing isn't going fully orbital. It's going on a suborbital trajectory, which means it's coming back. Everything's coming back. Whether they want it to or not, it's coming back.
Getting all of those into the actual payload area, it's a little more crammed than it was for just the kind of flat mass simulators.
Yeah, they had a quick view into the pest dispenser in the payload bay area, basically, and it looks a lot more crowded when it's not just a block of steel on a stick. It looks way more crowded. So in about 30 minutes or so, we're going to see that deployment, hopefully, if this launches on time. So let's just wait and see.
We will wait and see as we are approaching 15 minutes to go until the
So
opening
here
of
you
the
can
launch.
kind
A
of see
reminder, they do have an opportunity
frost lines
at
here.
T-minus 40 seconds to hold. So if they call for a hold at T-minus 40 seconds, that is not the end of the world. We have seen them do that even just for about 20 seconds to catch their breath, to double check things. We've seen it for a couple of minutes. It's not a problem. They have it there as an option for a reason. We don't know if they're going to take it or not. We have also seen launches where they just blow right through it. So just a note if you do see that. And with the vehicle loaded, they'll have approximately 15 minutes if needed once the rocket is fully loaded to be able to launch it. So if something does come up and they do need to hold at that 40-second mark, they have some time to work with. Hopefully we don't need it. Hopefully everything just proceeds through as scheduled and on time. So Alex, I don't know if you've been hearing any other updates as well that you can give to us, or at least catch some people up as well who might just be joining at the 15-minute mark here.
Everything continuing on track. You can see, well, right now we're in a wide angle view, but when we go to much closer views, you will be able to see that frost rising. It's a very nice progress bar, if you want to call it like that. And so you can see now there. Now we go back to the launch pad cameras here. You can see the frost is rising. The tanks on the ship are mostly filled. They're just a little bit to go. You can see there's like about a ring or so on the liquid oxygen tank. Also about a ring or so on the methane tank. Again, on each stage, on both the booster and the ship, the top tank is the methane tank. The bottom tank is the liquid oxygen tank. The ship has an additional 2 tanks on the nose cone at the tip. Those are the header tanks. Those are probably already loaded or about to be loaded. It's usually around this time on the countdown. So if you see some venting from the nose cone, that's normal. That's part of the pressurization system of those header tanks. Those are the ones that are going to be used for that relight in space, that short burn of just one engine, one of those Raptor sea level engines. And then for the landing burn, that's also where those 3 sea level engines will draw their propellant from. The booster also has its own landing tank as well. It's got a liquid oxygen tank and sort of like a reservoir as well of methane inside of that big transfer tube, the Falcon 9 sized transfer tube. But other than that, it's very much, as you can see, you know, all of the different frost lines are getting now close to the top of the tanks. We're getting close to end of propellant load. We should be in about 10 minutes.
Yes, at this point, the booster should finish propellant load first. That will happen about 2 minutes and 50 seconds to go before launch. That'll be followed 40 seconds later by the ship being fully loaded as well. So at T-minus 2 minutes and 10 seconds to go, exactly 10 minutes from now is when we should have a fully fueled Starship out at Pad 2. The excitement continues to get more and more real.
And if we go through and the engines ignite, the thing lifts off, then it should be about a 2 minute and 18 second ascent burn for the booster. Then the engines will ignite on the ship, the stages will separate. It's called hot staging, when they still ignite the engines on the ship when the booster is still thrusting. The booster will flip back, it will perform its 33 engine boost back burn, and hopefully we'll be on track for a splashdown in the Gulf about 6 minutes and 53 seconds after launch. That landing burn will be with 13 engines, then down perhaps to 5 and then 3. We saw these tests with the final version 2 boosters where they tried like a 13 engine at the beginning, then down to 5, and then down to 3 engines at the end. I at least expect the same kind of thing. We'll see what actually happens in real life. Also, in about a minute or so, we should keep an eye on those flaps on the ship. I just forgot that we are getting close now to the T-minus 10 point mark, and that's when the flaps should start moving around. They do some flap checks around T-minus 10 minutes into the, rather before the launch, I should say. But that's basically where we are right now, and I believe we have a fuel update from Ryan. Ryan, go ahead.
We are now 89.3% methane on the ship. We're approaching basically 99% oxygen on the ship, and we're well into the 70s now on both tanks on the booster. So again, progressing with fueling very, very nicely. It's nice when everything's green, isn't it? It's nice when everything is green. We're 7.5 minutes away from booster propellant load wrapping up, and I'll continue to just trickle in the rest of the propellant as we progress in the countdown.
Exactly.
10
That
minutes,
is
guys.
what we like to see, what we like to hear, that we have
10 freaking
so
minutes.
close to a fully fueled vehicle right now as we hit under 10 minutes to go. And a reminder for people who might just be joining from the 10-minute push alert, for those joining from the Next Spaceflight app, we are now looking at a nearly fully
Oh,
fueled
there's the
Starship.
flaps. You can see them tuck in. Look at that. They're
There we
tucked
go.
in. Probably we're gonna deploy them in a. There they go. They're opening now. Haha.
Now, for those of you that don't know,
There we go,
Starship
seeing the flaps do a
comes
little
into the
wave ahead of
atmosphere
flight, and we may be able to get
essentially like a
little
skydiver.
breeze
Those
there
flaps
potentially.
modulate,
From our
and
team,
it's like a
Starship will be
skydiver
able
coming
to
into the
launch.
atmosphere,
Keep
and
an
it
eye
can
out on that.
turn, it can do all sorts of stuff. It's absolutely
Man, that looks
mind-boggling.
pretty good.
Yeah, hopefully, if all goes well, we'll see it in action.
Everything is proceeding as
There are
planned.
people
That's
out
what we
here
like
that
to
think
hear.
that
I
this
wonder
is
how things
fake,
are
and I'm
looking
like,
for a
bro,
team
you
out
got
in the field.
you
I
got
believe we have
high-res
Dos from the top
4K
of the Margarita
cameras
Hotel in South
taking
Padre
you
Island. Dos, how's the height?
to where taking you
How's
to
the
the edge
hype?
of the world,
Good
you know.
grief. Is that the question? We are over here. We're on top of the hotel. We did get the robotic tracking head all set up. Some of the equipment you can see back behind me is all the control stuff. Oh, heck. Here, come with me real quick. We're going to turn that way. There's the robotic tracking head over there. So we've got a big Cinema robotic mount. With
So
a
we'll start off the
comically
launch here
large
on
lens
this
it,
screen
another
with
right along
NASA
camera on top
spaceflight,
of it.
and as we get
But
up into the
are
uppers
ready
of the
to go
atmosphere,
over here
we'll
on
swap over to the
Margaritaville. I'm
SpaceX
listening
screen
into
because they'll
y'all.
have
I
all
don't
of the
wanna,
good
like, jump in
onboard
too
views.
much, but we're excited. Is everything going well, Sawyer?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Everything's been going great so far. We just saw the flap wiggle test there. Propellant
Nice.
load continues to go as planned, and so far, so good.
We're like less than 10 minutes now, aren't we?
Try 8 minutes.
2 minutes, 8 minutes. All right, I won't stay on here for long. I will let y'all get back to it. I want to hop in real quick and say thank you to everybody that's been watching. I don't know how many people have clicked the little thumbs up or anything like that, but y'all showing up is what lets us keep doing this. I know we do like March plugs and we talk about super chats and stuff like that. All of those things that y'all do are what makes this possible for us. Honestly, the best way to make us shut up about March is to just buy it all, and then we don't have anything left to talk about. Last I heard, we were pretty well past 50% sold on the patches and pins. So don't want to have those sitting around in the warehouse. Y'all pick them up if you want to.
The docking
you don't
port
have
on
to,
the nose, so we
but
can
it is-
practice rendezvous and docking with the crew inside
So
of
here,
Orion.
this is what
One of
the
our
Artemis
key
3
test
mission.
objectives is going to come after docking, where we're going to be able to test out the maneuverability of both vehicles while they're connected. This has some extra importance as the revamp plan for the Artemis landing missions are going to use Starship to do the burn that sends astronauts to the moon from Earth orbit. And one other cool ad that just came out today, NASA is going to be putting 2 SpaceX mini lasers on Orion to connect it to our Starlink constellation, where we already
that's
use
dope.
thousands of lasers today. And they're going to be doing that with the goal of enabling 4K imagery and video from the spacecraft while they're in space. So a lot of excitement planned for next year as we all work together to send humans back to the moon, begin building a moon base, get to that future where anybody that wants to go to the moon is going to hopefully be able to go to the moon. So lots of really cool stuff to come. For now, though, we're at T-minus 6 minutes, 18 seconds into today's launch, and we're getting into terminal count. So let's...
Yeah, I would totally be. Sadly, I'll probably be too old by the time that comes to fruition. But I would totally get a ticket.
Once we get to the T-minus 40-second mark, Alex, that's
And
when
for those you don't
things
know,
get really
like, I
exciting.
used to
Can you take
be-
us through the steps that happen just before liftoff?
Like, I like rocketry,
Yeah,
like I
so
like
the
aviation,
final
right?
few
And I
minutes,
used
we're
to
gonna have propellant
have
load
this
ending
this
on the
bias. Like,
booster and the ship.
SpaceX
On
is
the
the big
booster, it
thing. They're
happens in
cool. They
T-minus
design
2
cool
minutes and 50
things. Like,
seconds. on the
when
ship will
everybody
be
else
at
said,
T-
oh,
T-minus 2
to
minutes and
propulsively
10
land a
seconds
booster and to
for
reuse
propellant
a
load
booster, that
increase.
will never
They're
work.
also
That's
gonna
what
be
they
doing
told
all of the
SpaceX. That's
final
what they
checks
told
on the
Elon.
engines,
And now
will
look,
be transitioning
it's
into
it's
single
it's a
power
normal
and things
thing to
like
see a
that.
Falcon
The
9 go up and the booster
launch
come back
pad
and land.
itself will also be
This
giving
is just
a
the next step
T-minus
in
40
that.
seconds, they're gonna go
And, you
from
know,
the
Falcon 9
8
is not
to
100%
hold
reusable.
point.
The upper stage
If
burns
they
up
wanna hold,
coming back
if
into the
anything is
atmosphere.
sort of off
You
or
know,
something
it's
like
just
that,
the booster that's
then they
reused.
can
But
hold
if
at
you
that
can
point.
figure out a
We
way
saw on the previous,
to make the
flight,
entire
on
thing
flight 12,
reused,
they had to take
then
down
and
the
only
dives
then can
on
you
the very
bring
first
the
attempt
cost
ever.
of space travel and the
So
cost of
don't be
launching
surprised
stuff
if that were to
down to what it is today for like aviation. Imagine them throwing A320 away after every single flight. That's essentially what every other rocket company is doing, just about. Is throwing the A320 or the 738 away after every single flight. You get what I'm saying? Can you imagine what that would cost us to fly if they threw the plane away after every single flight? So the iteration that SpaceX has started, an innovation that they have started with this reusability kick is 100% needed, if you ask me. And what I was saying was I used to be pro, like, oh, SpaceX is the best, or, you know, anything I thought cool was the best. But I'm starting to understand now that it's more so it's not that SpaceX is the best. If we just talk about the Artemis program, you know, a few months ago you saw, you know, the NASA SLS shoot humans back around the moon, not since what, the 70s. But SpaceX is very well part of that program. NASA needs SpaceX like SpaceX needs NASA. And yeah, NASA gets a lot of government contracts, military contracts, satellite contracts and stuff. And they have a budget from NASA, you know, but they need each other. The Artemis program doesn't work without SpaceX, or even Blue Origin for that matter. So, you know, I've slowly learned to root for everybody involved. I want to see this thing succeed. I want to see the Artemis program succeed. I want to see the SLS succeed, even though I can't necessarily, I mean, SLS is a beautiful rocket, but if you ask me, I'm like, come on, man. It's just the recycled shuttle. That's all it is. The RS-25 engines are reused engines from the shuttle. Like, it's nothing new really with the SLS rocket except for Orion, the capsule itself. But everybody needs everybody. SpaceX needs NASA. NASA needs SpaceX. SpaceX needs Blue Origin to be successful. NASA needs Blue Origin to be successful. And all of that combined is going to get us to the moon again and beyond.
13th flight of the Starship program. This again is over at Pad 2.
This is our version of
Starbase,
Apollo.
Texas for this launch.
For
On
people,
board,
you know,
we have
millennials like
20
myself.
V3
This is
Starlink
our version of
satellites,
Apollo.
real ones that will be doing some testing during their suborbital trajectory. 6 of those 20 satellites have cameras on
Hey, what's
board.
going on, Wendell?
Fingers
Welcome to the
crossed
stream, bro.
SpaceX allows us to see those views. And at T-minus 2 minutes and 10 seconds, that should wrap up propellant load on this
So we'll
vehicle.
see. We are 2 minutes out. Let's see
She is
if
full, she is heavy.
they take the
Hopefully
40-second
is
hold
ready.
or not.
Booster 20 on the bottom there, and ship 40 on the top. Ryan, final check in terms of weather and range. I know SpaceX said everything was go. How is it looking still?
Everything is green, not tracking any holds, closing out propellant load. Deep breaths, everybody. This might actually happen.
This might indeed happen about 90 seconds from now. As Alex did point out, they have a chance to hold.
Engine
They
gimbal
apparently
test,
moved
we
it from
just missed
T-minus
it.
40 seconds down to T-minus 60 seconds and 1 minute. They don't have to take said hold, but they have the opportunity to take it if they wish. Let's see here.
Now, this
As we
stream here
pass
is gonna
the
be
T-minus
slightly
60-second mark,
delayed,
we will see
I
if they
believe.
hold. And as we reach 1 minute to go, Ryan, it's your countdown from here.
Thank you, Sawyer, and thank you for tuning in. We're approaching 60 seconds. And the clock stops. We are holding at T-minus 60 seconds.
Now that was unplanned.
Of course, Starship has this ability to hold, unlike Falcon. So we will stand by until that clock resumes. Doing some final checkouts, making sure Starship is fully ready for launch on Flight 13, the second flight of this version of the vehicle, and we continue to count down. We're now T-minus 55 seconds.
All right, so the hold has been released. So we'll see
Looks
if
like
they
we'll be
take the 40
targeting
second hold.
35 seconds past the hour.
We'll see if they take the 40-second hold. No, they're through it.
Should be depressing the launch mount at this point.
They're through it. I think we're going, bros.
Hopefully we get that go
30
for
seconds.
launch. Keep an eye out for the DSS, the detonation suppressor system. There it is.
We're
15
going.
seconds.
We're going.
10
There it
seconds to
is.
launch. Here comes the water deluge system. Water is in the trench. There's the top deck.
Light it. She's going.
We have ignition. And we have an abort.
Oh my God.
Starship is not launching today.
Well, it was a test.
It looks like we had 33 Raptors light momentarily. And then an immediate abort with them all
Now-
shutting off according to the live telemetry.
Now,
And this is why hold down clamps are really useful.
so in their documentary, they said
Do they have the ability to recycle from here?
I'm listening in,
they can hold for 15
but
minutes.
yeah, it's confirmed it's a scrub for today
Okay.
because they started the deluge.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So in the documentary, they spoke of
Live telemetry graphic
with this new launch mount that they have.
appears that 4 engines did not light. From at least
The launch
I
mount.
don't know if that's confirmed or not, but it appears that 4 of that inner 13 did not
Okay.
light.
Yeah.
Well, never
I
mind
mean,
on that.
it's just
4 of the
this
engines
is one of those
didn't light.
things as well that it's important to mention that yeah, it was 4 on the middle ring. I'm just seeing it now.
That's my bad. I missaw the telemetry live in the moment.
No, it's okay. I mean, we're all looking at the rocket. We're not looking at the telemetry. And that is why all of these things are automated. By the way, this was all automated, and yeah, this is one of the things that usually happens with these rockets, where you have some engine outs at startup, and it's like, whoop, we're not going today. And that's why it is important.
So
Yeah.
I'm betting.
Look at that from the deluge.
Yep,
So I'm
right on top
betting
of one
today's
of our,
Thursday. I'm not sure that they'll
remote
launch
cameras
on the
located
weekend.
out
So
there.
I'm betting they'll
That's great
recycle
news.
for
It's not
Monday or
great to see
Tuesday.
the
We'll
rocket
see.
still on the pad, but at the same time it is, because the worst case scenario would have been something happening and then you lose the pad and vehicle. We don't want that. So better to be on the ground wishing you were in the air than in the air wishing you were on the ground.
Indeed.
Or it could be. It could
Alex, do we
be.
know how many engines it would be that they could still launch without? I know at one point I believe it was 3.
Yeah, at one point it was 3. I mean, if this was 4, then obviously that already triggers that abort criteria. And one of the things, so obviously a lot of people might be wondering, okay, so what's going to happen now? When can they try again? From a paperwork standpoint, they have a closure for tomorrow, but the point is, they just aborted at engine ignition. That is a very dynamic moment. They're probably going to take their time to look and understand what happened exactly for those engines to not light up, or if it was even the engines, like maybe it's not telemetry that doesn't see the engines igniting, who knows? right? Like that's the sort of thing that the engineers are going to be doing now. They're going to be looking through that data and actually understand what happened today so that they can proceed to the next attempt. Does that mean that I'm saying it's not going to happen tomorrow? No, I'm just saying maybe it doesn't happen tomorrow because they need to look more into that data. In fact, who knows if they might even need to destack even. Like this is one of those things of this pad that they don't have access to the engines on the
But
booster.
we'll keep our eyes
so it's
peeled
a very
and
interesting sort of
we'll be here for it when
I
it
guess
does launch.
it's a drawback of this design. It's a very good pad and whatnot, but they don't have access to the engines, and if they really want to have physical access to them, they will need to destack. So it's one of those things where it's a wait and see situation. We'll wait for any official communications from SpaceX.
You know what you won't have tomorrow, though, Alex? You won't have access to the NSF secret shop because with the scrub, that means the very rare Starship scrub merch comes out to play. And as you can see, it is only up for a limited time. There you go. I watched the whole stream and all I got was a Starship scrub. I know people have the Falcon 9 ones. Those are a little more common. The Starship ones, not common at all. So if you want to get one, this is your chance to show your dedication to it and proof that we survived the scrub and it will launch again. Don't worry, we will see it with a plus countdown at some point. But that secret shop countdown is underway.
Yeah, they're deep into
so if you want to get yours,
analyzing that data already because look at this, SpaceX stream ended.
Once it is gone, it does not reappear until another scrub, which we hope never happens. So hopefully this shirt continues to stay very rare. So if you want to get it, shop.nasaspaceflight.com. Reminder, the clock is ticking. You will literally see it ticking on the top of the shop page. Oh, goodness.
So yeah, they'll be moving into detanking now, trying to recover as much of the propellant as they can. A lot of that though is going to be unusable. It's already boiling off. That's why you see the ship kind of steaming like that and it venting all of the excess overboard. Like they said, they'll go and try to figure out why those 4 engines didn't start when they were supposed to, and we'll keep our eyes peeled for
the force of gravity to help back those liquids into the
for what they say and when they're gonna try to launch again, and we'll be here for it. Now, what I was saying was on earlier like static fire tests, they were saying that the launch clamps was actually throwing the abort because it was just so much sheer power, and I was wondering because it aborted similarly. I was wondering if maybe that was the case here, because I mean it aborted almost immediately as soon as those engines lit up. I thought it looked kind of funny when they ignited the engines. It didn't quite look like it was full power, and trust me, you'll know the way those flames shoot out the trench. You'll know it's at full power, and it didn't look anything like that. So the fact though, in my opinion, they took a hold at 60 seconds tells me that something wasn't right then, because the planned hold was 40 seconds. So maybe they were troubleshooting something then and recycled something then that they may have saw that the ship was reporting or the booster was reporting, and they just cycled it, got all greens, and continued to blow past that 40 seconds. So yeah, I mean that happens. This is why if you ever go to see a launch, you want to make sure that you plan your stay at to where you have extra days. Like I would go to see a launch the very first day I get there. That way if it scrubs, you still got some days after.
Absolutely not. They schedule out usually well in advance, to this time actually a day in advance, or a couple of days in advance. And of course they schedule well into the future, so SpaceX will have many opportunities to launch. At the end of the day, it's just going to boil down to the weather, which is unfortunate because the conditions were beautiful today, and of course if the vehicle is actually ready or not. We've seen
Greg,
SpaceX
big up,
do 24
says
hours of Starship
SpaceX
multiple times in the past.
having space farts, as my boy Andy Ali would say.
Starship.
This is just part of rapid iteration, I think.
Issue, mainly revolving.
If you compare SpaceX's rocket program to any other rocket program,
to retract,
like
so
that of the SLS or Artemis,
with it being a post-ignition,
they get out on the pad and they fill stuff purposefully to rapidly iterate,
previous super heavy booster,
and get to their flights a lot quicker. So this is just part of it.
so
You know, this is a
quickly.
test
So,
flight
of
at the
course,
end of the day.
SpaceX
I know
have
we
learned
wanted
from
to
that,
see
and
it
they've
launch,
been,
but this is a test
implementing
flight.
upgrades to the vehicles between
Not
the
only is this a
previous
test flight, but
and
this is
flight.
only the second flight
But
of both
if they had to do a
the
hard
V3
start and there
engines,
was
the
damage to
V3 of
Raptors,
the Starship.
then it's going to be a Raptor swap. I
You
mean,
know,
fingers
you've
crossed
got
that didn't happen,
the
and
whole
fingers
new
crossed
launch
the
tower,
Raptors
or
are
stage
happy
0
and
as they
healthy.
call it.
But
And
those
you
four
got,
clearly
you know, the
were
brand
not
new
happy and
V2
healthy
booster. So
because
all
they
of these
didn't
new things,
ignite.
unlike, you know, the first version where they've gotten
I see
through
there were a lot of people
successful
asking about
tests.
that.
All
The
of
other
these things,
question
this is
you don't
only
know.
the second
Engines, is it a
the second
sensor?
time.
You don't know, but you also don't want to risk it. This still seems very different from
So
the,
essentially what
hard
this has
stop
turned
that we saw
into,
on the static fires at least.
what
'cause
this has turned into
those
is
we
a
later
full,
found
what they
out
call
was
wet
because
dress
of a,
rehearsal. A wet dress
ground
rehearsal is
issue
where you fuel
that
the rocket
caused the
and you do
abort on those
everything up
tests.
to the point of ignition,
This
but you just don't light
doesn't
them.
seem like it was the
And
ground infrastructure. Again, we don't
they
know
get
for
tons
sure,
of data
but
from that,
based
and
off
they'll
what we
comb
saw
through
that
all
water
of that to
deluge
see
system,
why
I
those four
mean,
engines didn't light.
Ryan, it looked like it performed as it was supposed to.
I mean, the entire thing spooled up. We got the top deck going before we got to ignition, and you know the live telemetry showed 4 engines not igniting on the middle ring of the engine. Interestingly, they all appear to be on the kind of the same side of the booster. There's 2 that don't ignite, a gap of 1 that does ignite, and then another 2 that don't ignite. Of course, there are 10 engines on that
Now I'm
ring,
wondering
so
also, they
very
didn't mention
interesting to
that.
see what
So
effect
booster has a couple of,
So I guess it was.
I want to say it's 3 or 4, maybe even 5,
13. It was only lucky
uh,
9.
reused engines,
exactly.
right, from a previous booster. And I think it was in the static fire test, when they did the 10 engine static fire test on booster 19, which was from flight 12, they had the same similar issue, and so they ended up replacing all 10 of those engines on booster 19, and I guess did whatever with them and saved those engines. The engines that they put on booster 19 were engines from booster 20, was from this booster. And so I guess they refurbished, did whatever they did with some of those engines from booster 19, and now those engines went to booster 20. So I'm wondering if any of those engines that didn't fire were the engines originally from booster 19, which would make them earlier variants of the V3 of Raptor engine.
But even if they did, if this was an engine ignition issue, then a full stack wet dress rehearsal wouldn't have been the test to identify those issues. It would have been the 33 engine static fire, which they performed a few days ago with Super Heavy Booster 20, and that ran for 25 odd seconds. That was the longest ever booster static fire we have seen from Super Heavy of all the versions. That includes V1, V2, and V3. So surely an ignition issue would have been found during that test. I mean, what could have changed between that test only a few days ago and their first attempt at Flight 13?
Well, it's one of those things as well that you never know what can pop up at the last minute, right? And it could also be just a sensor that was buggy, that, you know, maybe the engine was fine. Maybe those 4 engines or something else was just fine. And like, it's the thing with engineering, something else will try to mess with you.
Yeah, I don't know that those engines were lit.
Happens. Sawyer and Ryan, I don't know if people are asking this in chat, like why would they? Okay, what if they just aborted a few seconds before engine ignition? Why is it that the deluge forces them to scrap for the day? Like if they fire the deluge, I know probably not a lot of people are wondering that, but I know because I have even one person in our own team that is asking and wondering about that, and that is one of those things as well where maybe some people are wondering about that. So, oh, we have an update from Elon? Okay.
We do, yes.
Okay, let's hit that.
I know
then,
our team is
I'll talk
working
about
on getting it on the screen. But as Kevin is doing his thing there, he did point out that some of the engines didn't start, triggering an automatic launch abort. Now offloading propellant, next launch attempt hopefully in a few days. So that doesn't sound to me like an attempt tomorrow.
Yeah, no, I think it's going to be next week.
That implies more than one.
I think it's going to be next week.
But it's to be expected. It's what we explained before.
Because if I'm not mistaken, I don't think in the town of Brownsville. I don't think they can shut, because when they have these launches down there in Boca Chica, it shuts the villages down.
So with the deluge,
I don't think they have the clearance to shut the villages and the roads down on the weekends.
it takes about a few hours.
So this is why I'm thinking that it's going to be next week sometime, Monday or Tuesday. I think they'll use the weekend to try to diagnose, maybe even replace those engines that didn't start.
They only had a 90-minute window. And even before that, the full stack was loaded with propellants. And they only can
I do
hold
think
with
we'll
those
see a
propellants for
destack of this
15
vehicle, though.
minutes. So if you wanted to try again, you not only have to recycle that deluge system, but you also have the propellant getting warm. And so that is not great. And you will have to detank the rocket just like they're doing right now and then reload everything again. But there's no time to do that in 90 minutes. But there you can see what Elon said. Some of the engines didn't start, triggering an automatic launch abort. So yeah, that is what we were talking about. That sometimes in the we had heard in the past that maybe up to 3 engines, if they don't light up to, like, if 3 engines or more are out, then there's a automatic abort.
Well, good to see the system works as planned, at least. And you can see there in that top left view, we can already see that it looks like detanking is underway, given that frost line is receding.
And again, they won't be able to reclaim all of the propellant, because remember, this stuff is starting to boil off the longer the rocket sits here.
The launch itself,
But they'll be able to get back some of it.
Probably with some fellow space enthusiasts out there.
And then they'll have another convoy of
so it's a good chance
truck tankers coming in again, probably tonight, to
90 degrees out
retop
there,
off the fuel farm.
So it's the view from the people also probably getting a chance to stay at the Margaritaville Hotel over on South Padre Island, which, again, we thank them for allowing us to have a camera up there all the time, and also for having Das and Jerry up there today as well to try and catch the launch, in this case, the startup and shutdown before a launch. Let's see. I'm trying to catch up here on support and questions from people because it has been quite busy here. I want to make sure we also get to some of your questions and acknowledge everything that's been going on. I guess now comes the sort of speculation phase of, if that is the case, would they potentially destack to be able to get to the booster? And if so,
I think so.
When would we maybe see the booster transport stand rolling back there, Alex?
Well, the booster transport stand to roll back just as soon as the
Well,
site
I
is
would
safe.
guess perhaps it might roll back if it is needed. Although I will say if they're scrubbing, which
Tonight?
they are, I would imagine they're probably bringing it back all the way, even if they were not to destack, just in case. Because it might, like, maybe they don't plan to destack right now, but then you're like, ooh, we need it now. Oh, dang it, we have it out there on the production side, right? It's not here on the launch side. I think even in that case, they will, like, even if they didn't want or even have to destack, we'll probably see the booster transport stand coming back to the launch side. Also the ship, of course, the ship transport stand as well. In that case, if they were to roll them back, and again, I think that's probably what's going to happen, then I will see perhaps if they were to need this. I'm putting here a hypothetical, okay? Hypothetical situation. Put an asterisk anywhere on your mind about what I'm saying. Perhaps there could be time to, for example, remove the ship tonight and then remove the booster right after that, like maybe in the morning, like very early in the morning. Because we've seen them, they're very quick at those operations and they have a good handle on those things.
Yo, big up, bro.
So that's something that could happen relatively quickly. It's the inspections and whatnot that will probably take more time, again, if they were to need those. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but Sawyer was asking to me, like, you know, what if that happened? What would be the timeline? Well, that's sort of what I think might be the timeline if that were to happen. I think it's something doable from their part. We've seen that very much.
Well, I think that if they,
destack and restack. Remember Flight 2?
I agree that they're going to roll the transport stand tonight, just as soon as the site is safe. I mean, you can't get nobody in there right now until that thing is detanked, all of the fuel is rolled back, and the booster and the flight termination system are all safed. and you get all of the people out of the, the area. I think they'll roll the transport stands back over there tonight and start destacking it tonight. There's a good chance that, I don't know, they're not necessarily saying it, but I think that they're going to go for a replacement, possibly, of some engines or whatever, which is, they've done it before. In which case, one would say, well, oh, if they replace some engines, then maybe they would have to go and do another static fire. Nope. They've done a static fire for the majority of the engines. I think they'll go straight into another launch campaign. That's what I think. So I'm thinking that we'll see a week from today is the timeline. I don't think they'll do any launch attempt over the weekend, because it's going to take them, 24 to 48 hours to at least start combing through the data of why those 4 engines didn't ignite. And then if they do destack, that's another 24 hours or so to get the booster back to the launch site, stacked on the launch mount. Ship comes, get that stacked. Like last night, the ship came out last night, and that was like a 12-hour process. So, quick for them. But yeah, I don't think we're seeing anything before next week. Like this time next week.
The extent of that work, if there is work at all, of course, is unknown at this moment in time. If it's extensive work, then very likely the booster would then have to roll back to the Mega Bay to get that work done. I'm not sure whether SpaceX would want to conduct such work at the launch pad itself, considering they have a fully outfitted bay just a couple miles down the road, and it only takes them an hour or so to roll the booster back to the barn. So it might seem like a big step, like, oh no, they have to roll back, the game over. No, I mean, it's an hour roll down the road. They can get it back out to the pad in no time. Might as well do that work if it's required. Again, we don't know if this is required or not. Do that work in a place which is very much suited and designed specifically to conduct such work. I'm sure SpaceX will be able to churn through the data very, very quickly. But yeah, it is
they're usually
very
pretty
interesting
quick
to see the fallout of those 4 Raptors that did not ignite today for whatever reason.
And the other thing that's worth noting is, again, to get to the booster, if they don't leave it stacked out at the pad, they do have to remove the ship. So they will have to destack the ship as well, even if nothing's wrong with it, just so that they can at least get to the booster underneath. So it'll be all of those stands that'll have to move out. I guess, would they be able to keep it out there and work on it out there? And if so, even if they have to roll the booster back, could the ship just stay out there while they work on booster stuff inside one of the bays?
I'd say theoretically, yes. It just depends what SpaceX would want to do. Like I said, to roll a vehicle down Highway 4, it's a big operation, but time-wise, it's only an hour to get a booster to the pad or to the production site, vice versa. So it's not that big of a barrier, not that big of a hurdle for a ship or booster to clear. But we've seen them leaving vehicles at the launch site before, not in the V3 era, but definitely in the V2 era, and especially in the Souls of Hob era, where they launched a Starship with another Starship watching on from only a few meters away, which was, that was something, especially when the flying Starship doesn't make a soft landing and instead scatters its innards all over Boca Chica.
That's a great way to describe it, scattering the innards across Boca Chica. The other thing to mention, too, is this wasn't their only planned booster activity for the day, shall we say. I mean, Alex, they had a whole other road closure that was very likely for Booster 21, given that I believe there was a stand getting ready to roll out near the bays for that one, right?
Yeah, the booster thrust simulator, that stand is out there at the production site, and it seems like Booster 21 will be lifted and placed on that stand. And so tonight, while SpaceX is figuring out what's going on with Flight 13, well, they are preparing for Flight 14 already, getting that booster out there to masses, getting those cryoproof testing and whatnot, the thrust simulations. The thrust simulator stand will also be doing some work on the aft to simulate the thrust of the engines. making sure that everything is good to go from the structural
All
side.
right, so
of
we're going to
things.
go ahead and
So
wrap it up, guys.
that'll
Like I
be
said, we'll keep our eyes
a-
peeled. We'll come at you with the next one. But since we come to see a launch, we're going to take a look at what we were supposed to see today. This is the launch of Flight 12 just a couple of weeks ago. And we'll check this one out.
Minus 10, 9,
as we head out.
8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, ignition. We have liftoff.
And you can see how quick that sequence is supposed to. We didn't see that today. Look at the sound reverberation off of the clouds.
Booster Raptor, chamber pressure nominal.
All right, we are T plus 30 seconds into flight, seeing 33 out of 33 Raptor 3 engines on
Again, this is
V3,
Booster 19 and
ascending
Ship
over
39, the
now,
first
coming up on
V3
maximum
flight.
aerodynamic pressure.
Just a few weeks
Booster
ago.
and ship, avionics power, telemetry nominal.
This is what we should have saw today.
Systems
just better.
looking good. We're just passing through the
Max
period of
Q.
maximum dynamic pressure.
I'll try and
over a
point
minute
out
into flight now.
what they were aiming to
Vibrations
fix on
showing
this
out
flight.
here at Star Factory.
33 healthy engines on this launch.
Starship Flight 12 arc out
Until
over
it
the
tried
Gulf.
to
The
boost
next
back.
major thing coming up is going to be hot staging.
Booster prop systems nominal.
Reminder, we do what's our version of MECO. Most engines cut off, so we're going to shut down all but 5 of the Raptor engines on the booster. And then after that happens, we're going to ignite.
Now again, this booster is supposed to flip up and back, but it didn't. And if you pay attention to the aft section of the booster, those engines come on and then they go right back out.
Them.
So I'm wondering
We
if this
had
is a
one
V3
of the
Raptor
engines
issue.
go out still flying
'Cause
on
they've been having
32
engine issues with
of the
these,
Raptor engines. But again, once we get the hot staging, those 6 engines on the ship
And
are
they
going
already
to
have an
ignite.
engine out on the ship. I mean,
We're
on
going to
the,
do it in a little
booster.
bit different of a sequence on version 3. Essentially, those 3 RVAC engines will ignite first. Almost immediately after, just one of those central engines is going to ignite, and that's going to give the booster a bit of a kick, sending it in a known direction, followed shortly after.
There's your
by
curvature
the
for you
other
flat
2.
earthers.
We're through MECO.
Each separation.
So didn't flip the right way. Now watch the engine section. They come
There
on
you
and then they go out.
Successful hot staging separation.
And that booster is...
We are not seeing as many booster engines ignite as we expected for boost back, but we are seeing 6 good engines lit on ship.
Here's the telemetry for the
It
ship.
looks like we just
6
had an
good
early
engines.
boost back shutdown. Again, a reminder, the
They lose an
booster was
engine on
planned
ship,
to
too.
essentially head into the Gulf for a splashdown, but it has shut its engines down early on into boost back.
There was an engine failure. You saw it?
And we just see one of the RVAC, so we're now running on 5 engines on.
It was energetic too. And just watch how the ship pitches to correct. Let's take this back just a little bit. Explosion
We're
down
not
here.
seeing as many booster engines ignite as we expected for boost back.
Not that.
But we are seeing 6 good engines lit on
But watch
ship.
the telemetry down here in the right corner.
It looks like we just had an early boost back shutdown. Again, a reminder, the booster was planned to essentially head into the Gulf for a splashdown, but it has shut its engines down early on into boost back. And we just see one of the RVAC, so we're
what's
now running
neat
on
about
5
it is the
engines on
telemetry picked up the failure before it actually failed. That's live
but it
telemetry
has shut its
from their
booster was
sensors
planned. Booster was
that
planned
was able to
essentially
detect that
head
failing
into the
engine,
Gulf,
and then it just let go.
for a splashdown, but it
So
has
you see
shut
the
its
engine is
engines
out,
down
and then
early
you
on
see the
into
energetic
boost back.
explosion. There it is. It's a wonder it didn't
And
tear
we
the
just
engine
see
skirt.
one of the RVAC, so we're now running on 5 engines on ship.
Left side of your view is the booster, trying to
We
survive.
do have engine out capability, so it's going to continue into its ascent. You got booster on the left there, ship on the right.
Ship avionics power
Again,
and
we are
telemetry
not
nominal.
planning on bringing the booster back for this flight, as this was the very first time. All right, so we're about 3 minutes, 50 seconds into today's flight. Just a reminder, the ship planned to burn its engines for about 8 minutes and change. About 8 minutes and 11 seconds was our planned timeline for today. That could shift slightly as we do have one engine out.
Pad or the whole stack. That was quite incredible.
Absolutely. So we have views here from the
Back down towards the water. All right, so a little over 5.5 minutes in flight. Kate, Jake, you guys with me? It looks like booster's starting to come in hot.
Yeah, we had the opportunity to stand outside to watch launch, and wow, that was
booster
incredible.
Yeah,
4,500 kilometers
really loud,
an hour.
really
right
shaky, and I was actually surprised how fast the booster got off the pad or the whole stack. That was quite incredible.
Absolutely. So we have views here from the booster coming back down, making its way into the Gulf. Pretty cool to
We
see.
have healthy chamber pressures on 5 out of 6 ship Raptor engines.
Great news there
Landing
for
startup.
Starship.
So it tried to light the engines for the landing burn, but
Once
they
again,
shut
we
down
were
again.
not going to bring the super heavy booster
And there it
back to
slams
the
into the
tower.
water.
We were planning on having it land in the Gulf.
And it looks like the booster ended its mission there in the Gulf, but we've got a ship still flying. Great to see that. Still have 5 out of 6 engines there on S39.
Yes, we also heard good chamber pressures as well on those engines that are lit. We do have engine out capability. We do see that we have one of the RVAC, one of the Raptor vacuum engines that is currently out, but that's okay. Ship is continuing on. Amazing views of planet Earth there.
6 engines on ship, had one RVAC go out on the way uphill. The flashlights on them to try and illuminate the ship's heat shield while we fly away from it. So we see some PES motion.
So these are the dummy Starlink satellites they had on Flight 12, which had some cameras and lights on them to get some exterior views to check out the heat shield, similar to what Space Shuttle would do.
Pew, pew.
And of course, it's dark now. They're around the other side of the planet, coming across the Indian Ocean.
2 down, 20 to go. And from this view, you can kind of see on the right side of the satellite, you see some bright white spots. Those are our flashlights. Beneath them, the camera is going to attempt to look back and image Starship's heat shield as it flies slowly away from the vehicle. And there it goes. Let there be light.
Yeah, it almost looks like the light is just shining right at us there.
If you couldn't tell, we're pretty excited.
Yeah.
So fast forwarding to ship gets into ship re-entry interface here.
We are going to attempt a landing burn.
Yes, those are
We'll
city
see how they
lights that you see
perform
down there.
when we get there. And just a reminder, we are going to be stressing the ship.
This is what
on
we
the way
should have
in.
saw today.
We're going to intentionally do a maneuver where we're going to kind of pitch the
Unfortunately.
nose up and deploy those aft, those bottom flaps to really put a lot of pressure on them. So we'll see how it does through that maneuver, and then we'll be doing kind of a final banking turn before we get to a landing burn. So all that coming up in a few minutes. The light show should start beginning real soon.
And so what he's talking about is as they were coming in. Okay, so the space shuttle used to come in, you know, pitched up, what, about 40 degrees. But as it was coming into the thicker parts of the atmosphere, they did a series of S-turns. I mean, really hard banking S-turns to bleed some of that speed. And so they tried a similar profile on Flight 12, where they would really extend those aft flaps and throw them into the airstream. And I mean, just slam the bottom down like that and doing, you know, tight S-turns. But this thing really, the flight profile that they're aiming for this thing is for it to come in, have some cross range, fly over the landing site, you know, so they're not doing this over population, fly over the landing site, and then execute a 180-degree turn to come in for the flip maneuver to be caught again by the tower. They demonstrated that on this flight. So they're well into entry interface here. And again, this is Flight 12, guys. This is a replay of Flight 12. Figure I get some launch action since they scrubbed today. But in times past, you wouldn't have these kind of views at all during entry interface. For most, you know, spacecraft, including the Orion capsule, once they get into the plasma field and start going through entry interface, they experience what's called, you know, comms blackout, radio blackout. Nothing could get through the plasma. The difference here is this, you know, Starship carries Starlink antennas on the back side of it. Those antennas aren't in the plasma. So the antennas are looking back up over its back up at Starlink, you know, satellites that's already in orbit. So far, SpaceX is the only ones to use it. But as you heard earlier, they're looking at putting Starlink antennas on capsules like the Orion, and you know, I'm pretty sure other spacecraft will look to use it in the future to, you know, all but completely eliminate the plasma blackout. So that's how these views are being transmitted as this thing is going through reentry. I mean, this is what, 2,000-3,000 degree plasma on the bottom side of that ship.
Just a little. We're now in another, you know, several minutes.
And now again, on previous versions of Starship flights, you would see the plasma leaking through the hinges and the flaps, and this thing, you know, lost half of a flap and was still going.
And again, the data gathering is really the main reason why we're doing these flight tests. So Starlink provides us just one more path to collect that data that ultimately allows us to rapidly iterate Starship's design.
Now, if SHIP manages to make it all the way through re-entry, we'll collect valuable data on the spacecraft flying through the Earth's atmosphere at these hypersonic speeds, which is basically more than 5 times the speed of sound. Now, we do anticipate that it might be a little bit of a spicy re-entry, so we'll see how far we get. Re-entry is typically a portion of flight where we don't have communications with the spacecraft.
The whole flap looks good. The hinges are not fucking steaming, no plasma leaking through.
Or for those
and this again was Flight 12, so I'm confident that they did
at those speeds, the spacecraft
pretty nice
is
upgrades
through the atmosphere
on
and
the
it
heat
creates that
shield
plasma field
since
that we
previous
saw,
flights.
Forming around the vehicle.
Yeah, and although the plasma looks really cool, it does distort.
So spoiler alert, it made it.
Temperature the Starship's going to see during its re-entry.
And that camera's moving because remember, this camera is at the tip of the forward left flap. So as those flaps actuate, that camera moves too.
This camera angle changes as it is attached to the forward flap on Starship, so we're actually experiencing the articulation of that hardware, helping to steer the ship down for its precise landing in the Indian Ocean.
Yep, that is just a really cool.
Stress in the flaps on the ship, so.
Ship has passed through the peak heating region. External temperatures are coming down.
Wow, that is incredible news. As Dan mentioned, we were expecting this reentry to be super spicy.
So right now she's coming in almost nose up like that,
past that period of peak
and she'll transition into almost like a skydiving maneuver
are starting to decrease.
and come down right over the launch site, and then do a flip maneuver like that to get into position or orientation to be caught by the tower. If they was actually attempting to catch it on the tower. And these are the catch pins here for ship.
The atmosphere.
Yeah, and you
Again,
can
this is what we
tell
should have
by
saw
the
today.
G meter down on the bottom right that we're starting to pick up a couple more Gs here, so we're definitely entering the thicker part of the atmosphere where we're scrubbing off all that energy, like Kate's saying.
And you should see ships start to bank, do some of those banking turns,
or so to go.
which is pretty sweet, coming in at 10,000 kilometers an hour right now.
The maneuver where we're going to, it's affectionately called the flap slap, where we're going to kind of pitch the nose up on the ship, and you're going to see those aft flaps, the ones in the very bottom, fully deploy.
Ship is at peak dynamic pressure.
Again, there's your curvature
And
for you
we're
flat
now at
earthers.
peak pressure.
That's at 43 kilometers in altitude.
Test has started.
So again, they slam those flaps out, not because that's a normal regime of flight,
Looks
but
like it's holding.
they're wanting to put as much stress on it as possible to see what the ship
Again,
does.
the intent of that was to put just a lot of extra stress on those aft flaps. We are expecting the forward ones too to see a little bit of extra stress, as we've got a little more propellant in our header tank, so the area right at the very nose of
Ship
Starship.
flap load test is complete.
And we're through that test.
There we go. And we just did that test at Mach 7, just for reference there. So we are still going incredibly fast.
All right, we are just about 3.5 minutes or so away from our targeted landing burn. Again, we're expecting to try and see 2 of these Raptor engines light for the landing burn. Normally we plan for 3, but we're going to give it a try with 2.
So remember, they had an engine out. That engine exploded earlier on in the flight. So ship is also showing extra engine out capability that they were able to perform a soft splash.
And that right there, so we're starting a
2 out of the
banking
3
maneuver,
engines.
and essentially what that is when we come back to Starbase, or when we plan to come back to Starbase, the trajectory is designed so we'll essentially swing out over the Gulf and do a swoop maneuver to then come back to the towers for catch. And so we are doing that exact same maneuver as we head towards our targeted splashdown in the Indian Ocean.
And again, one could say, well, how do you know that the thing was precise? Well, it's because they programmed this thing to land on a specific GPS coordinate, and that's how you can simulate, okay, if it would have been accurate to the launch site or not. It's that simple. So they're flying over the GPS coordinate now. Let's just say they're flying over the launch site now, and they're turning around to come back towards the launch site.
You know, intentionally not trying to bring the booster back to the pad. So we're trying all these things out in this developmental phase of the vehicle, and you know, really proving what a test flight is.
Absolutely.
Dynamic pressure is coming down.
All right, we heard there dynamic pressure coming down, and I'd say we're in a pretty good bank right now.
Yeah, executing the power slide. We're about 90 seconds away from our anticipated landing burn. Clouds coming up, pretty sunrise on the other side of the planet.
Starship is subsonic and is on target.
And again, guys,
The crowd here reacting
this
to
is Flight
that
12's
call out, letting
replay.
us know that we are on target for this precise
This is what we should have saw
landing
today.
in the Indian Ocean. This will once again be a soft
But instead, we
splashdown.
got a scrub.
We should get some pretty cool views from the recovery team who we chatted with earlier. They are standing
And if
by
we
to
take a peek in
receive
at
this ship. Once again, this is the first flight of our
other coverage
completely
there, you can see that
redesigned
frost line
Starship
is falling.
version
They're
3.
detanking that vehicle.
Yeah, and if you remember the suborbital flights from a few years ago, this is very much the same regime that we're in here. So we're sub 15 kilometers, executing what we call the belly flip maneuver.
Ah, yes. Serial number 8, the first belly flop. I remember it well.
Now she's falling straight down like a skydiver. Those flaps are like arms and legs,
Just some
helping
really
to steer the
amazing
vehicle
views
through the
of
atmosphere.
Earth as the ship is coming back home. Thanks, Starlink.
Yeah, you can see the aft flap there making minor corrections.
Starship is turning for final approach to landing site.
Look at that turn.
There we go. Minor corrections and a full turn.
Yeah, Starship doesn't fly like an airplane. It's a lot more like a skydiver. Full belly flop on the way down, using those flaps similar to arms to help change the path of the air over you.
Damn,
Coming
your
up
boy's
real
good.
soon.
Yo, what up, Spawner?
Yeah, going for a landing burn, trying to light 2 of these Raptor
Again, this is a
sea-level
replay of Flight 12. We had a scrub on Flight 13 today, just a little while ago.
Landing burn startup.
Here comes the
Landing
landing
burn
burn.
startup.
This is what we should have saw today.
2 engines lit.
This is from a drone.
Successful flip.
There are the buoys there.
Buoy cam
Starship is
catching
landed.
it.
Good shut time.
Boom. All expected. And that's what we should have saw today. Now those buoys were placed out there on specific GPS coordinates.
That ball of fire is exactly what we wanted to see for the ship today. As weird as it may sound
To see all of these guys
to
cheering,
hear,
that
but
amazes
it is
me,
the
man.
truth.
You know, these people work for years and years and years. They work for years and years. You know, to see all of their work come to fruition like that, even on a test flight, is absolutely amazing. So yeah, guys, we'll go ahead and close it out. Like I said, sorry we couldn't show you a launch, but we got you
Back to the LBJ
a
intersection.
replay of
Nice.
Flight 12.
Alright.
And again,
So
we'll
back to what I
stay
was
up
trying to
to
explain.
date
There
on
probably
what they're gonna
two
do.
types of
Obviously, they're gonna have to figure out why the 4 engines failed to
two
light
major categories.
at
The ones that are
0 seconds,
shut down
and
really quickly so that
we'll
nothing
plan
goes
on
up.
being back
And then
for
there's just
booster
normal
20 and
shutdowns
ship
that it's like,
40.
well, we know it's gonna be aborted because we saw things not nominal.
We will
Okay,
definitely
let's shut
plan
down.
on coming
Like
back.
multiple
Sometimes
engines
you
not
have the
turning on?
time. Maybe it's that kind of shutdown that they had. Maybe because the one that they had.
So yeah, guys,
was
that's
when
all we
the
got
team
for you
were
today,
really
man. I
just
wish we
like,
was still
oh,
in
the
flight
bird is about
and
to-
checking this
to
thing
go
out,
on.
but hey, that's how it goes
Rushing
in
apart,
space
things
flight
like that, like,
Yeah.
and
that's the
tests
sort
and
of thing
things
where
like that.
we'll probably want to shut
Um,
engines very quickly, as opposed to four engines
Yeah,
didn't
gents.
light up. Okay, we still have like I don't know 2 seconds more.
So we'll keep our eyes peeled, our ears open, and see what comes of it, and we'll be sure to bring you coverage on the next attempt.
It's like an
And
controller.
yeah, we'll probably go live tomorrow doing some flying, some regular flying. So yeah, you guys stop by, check us out, drop a like for the stream, and yeah, we'll try to refine these live coverages. I know it's pretty raw right now, but we'll definitely try to refine these, and if this is something that we're gonna do, you know what I mean? But yeah, guys, appreciate you stopping by, appreciate you hanging out with me, and we'll catch you guys on the next one. Your boy Leo is signing out. See ya.